Melania Trump may never move into the White House and instead live in NYC with son Barron as Ivanka and Jared Kushner begin performing traditional First Lady duties to help out. First Lady Melania Trump has spent just 2 nights in the White House since her husband was sworn in as president 2 weeks ago, choosing instead to stay at the couple's $100 million Trump Tower penthouse while son Barron is in school. The decision of the First Lady to live 200 miles away from President Trump was announced back in November, with the Trump transition team noting that when Barron finished classes in June he and his mother would move to Washington, D.C. That no longer seems to be the case, however, according to a family insider, who said in an interview with US Weekly that President Trump and the First Lady have not made any decisions about their living arrangements beyond this June. They will reevaluate toward the end of the school year if they will keep this arrangement or if Melania and Barron will move to Washington, said the insider. They could go either way right now. They will ultimately do what's best for Barron, President Trump and the First Lady have currently been apart for the longest span of time ever in their marriage, with Melania saying during the election they never went more than a week without seeing one another. It has been 10 days since President Trump saw the First Lady, but the two will reunite this weekend at Mar-a-Lago. Melania is also getting a helping hand from Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner, who have both been performing traditional First Lady duties so she can focus on being a mom, says a source. Among the First Lady duties the two have taken on over the past few weeks was their attendance on Saturday at the annual Alfalfa dinner, just a few hours after protests broke out over President Trump's immigration ban. The current arrangement seems to be working out well for everyone. And President Trump told the New York Times that his wife and youngest son would be heading down every weekend to visit. They failed to visit last weekend, however, choosing to stay home due to the protesting brought on by President Trump's immigration ban. In the Times story, Trump was identified as the ultimate homebody, an apt description given that his office and living space are under the same roof in the White House, just as they were at Trump Tower. And when asked by World News Tonight host David Muir during his first interview in the White House if it was difficult not having Melania and Barron around, he said no, because I end up working longer. Melania is also prioritizing her job, having said ever since the day her husband first announced he was running for president back in June of 2015, that being a mother would always be her top priority. She does, however, have an additional job these days now that she is First Lady and has finally begun to go about the process of selecting her staff. Melania is actively building her team, including hiring a chief of staff, a senior advisor, and a social secretary, among other key positions, said a source. While she is a mom first, she is very much embracing the role and responsibilities of First Lady. Melania is only the second foreign-born First Lady, having immigrated to the United States from Slovenia after her modeling career took off in the late 1990s. It was around that time that she met her husband, who she married in 2005 at Mar-a-Lago. Her first appointee was longtime friend and former Vogue employee Stephanie Winston Wolkoff, who worked to plan President Trump's inauguration. After spending years working on the annual Met Ball with Anna Wintour, the hiring of Wolkoff as a senior advisor to the First Lady came just this week, however 2 weeks after the inauguration, and 2 months later than past First Ladies. After President Obama's victory 2008, the incoming First Lady and transition team announced who the senior members would be in late November and early December, well over a month before the inauguration. Michelle Obama then worked with her staff on events she would attend and host in and around her husband's swearing-in ceremony. The First Lady has been given a staff in the White House for the past 115 years, with Theodore Roosevelt's wife Edith being the first to bring in help when she hired a White House social secretary. The number of staff hired by the First Lady slowly grew over the years, with Eleanor Roosevelt adding a personal secretary to the staff and Jacqueline Kennedy a press secretary. If Melania should decide to stay in Manhattan, President Trump would not be completely alone, with his son-in-law Jared Kushner would still be by his side every single day in his job as a senior advisor. President Trump's daughter Ivanka is also nearby after she made the decision to move to Washington, D.C., with her and Kushner's 3 children, to support the commander-in-chief and her husband. Trump's oldest sons Donald Jr. and Eric are back in New York City, however, though they too fly down frequently. On Tuesday night, Both boys attended their father's formal announcement of Neil Gorsuch as his first Supreme Court nominee in the East Room of the White House, and President Trump's younger daughter Tiffany will also be residing in New York City as she takes a year off before starting law school in September.